Hello, everyone out there. I am Jeff McKinney, also known as the Techpreneur for the People. And this is At Home on the Yard, where today we want to take a moment to acknowledge um, loss and a unfortunate circumstance of a young life connected to my alma mater that has been lost in a senseless, what seems to be some type of senseless road rage accident or something like that. I'm not here to go into the specifics of it. I had planned to come here today for this episode and felt that it was best to make sure that we stop there and we acknowledge that, and we, from a One2Gration standpoint, we're all about focusing on people having the right set of resources in tough times, and to not acknowledge that there are those like in this community that are feeling that, specifically the Fisk community. And so I wanted to take some time there, love your loved ones, take a pause and give them a hug, think of them, and send a few prayers up to the family. And so, like I said, this is At Home on the Yard. At Home on the Yard is a space where we come to talk about things that are relevant to, I would say, HBCU culture, or things that I feel align with kind of the vision or the strategy for At Home on the Yard. At a yard, this space was created, and if you think about, or you've been following for a while, we've stayed connected with telling the stories of alumni and former athletes, and just really arts, culture, just all the things that remind me of really my Fisk experience. And so in that, we've had in the past the Fisk gymnastics team on a few times. We've had and we did this past homecoming there at Fisk University. We did have the White George there to kind of leverage his influence and give his gifts to his fruits, offer his fruits to our alum. And there seemed to be a very good reception to that. And so those are the types of things that we do. And then for me, my name is Jeff. I went to Fisk. This is not necessarily dedicated for the sole purpose of Fisk University. It's really focused on a space, and it's a strategy as well. And so when you think about where is a space where we all connect, that is outside of kind of the outside of the dangers of technology, that place really doesn't exist. And so a place where I always felt very, very comfortable was At Home on the Yard, where you actually could, for me, I feel like I could be my I could just be myself. And so when I go back to the yard, I don't have much to say, but when I do, watch out, because it's going to be out of love, but it's going to be true. And so that's kind of what the heart of this is. And then to be able to now leverage these tools through technology to be able to do something that that is set apart to make an impact, to contribute towards the greater good of whomever wants to partner. One of the things that I've learned from this is not everybody's going to want to partner. I've got the documentation and the receipts to show who partners and who doesn't. And so, as I said, I'm a truth teller. And, for me, when I look in the mirror, I say, hey, Jeff, you're being very, very patient here with the amount of truth that you're telling. And I think that that's the right approach considering that there's a greater priority of truth to tell. And so one example of that would be creating solutions so that people don't have to be alone. And so, what would it be like to now be able to tell the stories of how the technology that we create is impacting folks and impacting the yard? Well, in order to effectively do that, you'd have to talk about the challenges that people face as well. And so, I do want to quickly touch on in a very light way and give honor to We Educate Brilliant Minds founder and Fisk alum, Hootie the Fiskite, Stephen Bernstein. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to lead off with that is because I had planned to do this show earlier today. But then I got on the phone with Stephen Bernstein, and he needed someone to listen, is what I heard. And so as I was listening and we were talking, I heard all of the great things that he has, continues, and envisions contributing to culture at home on the yard. Like I said, at home on the yard is about whomever wants to partner. And so there's some great stories that he has to tell, but there's also a triggering of an experience that reminds me of when I felt impacted by things like gaslighting and people making me kind of question myself. And, because he was, this is kind of just what I heard. And so I think, because we do have a platform that we collectively here at One2Gration, we should start telling the stories of Stephen Bernstein during our publications to provide visibility into the great work that he does. And so now I also understanding how it feels when, I'm, we're on the yard, so I can talk openly. When I'm triggered, I have my own set of issues where, I've been gaslit and I haven't been treated fairly, and I still am sometimes haunted by those thoughts, and I have to process those thoughts. And for me, what I found is that the best way to do that is through my art. And so you may read something that I write, or you may see something visually that I create. Well, that's about being able to process those things outside and put them in a way that I think is cool and allows for me to get whatever this expression is out of me. And then I can move on with my day and go and build One2Gration. Like that's really what God created me for. And so here we are at One2Gration. And now in this particular conversation, we're talking about at home on the yard. And so the reason why I bring that up is because I see, and we see through what Hootie the Fiskite is communicating, we see what he's expressing, which means that has to come from inside. And so I do think that there's a better way to leverage his voice and his influence than how we are using it today. But I also respect that for him, he has to express himself in order to be at his best in other places, in other rooms. And so it's interesting to see, that I can look and see that in him, and then it helps me see myself and how I create and how I heal in a more clear way. But it is that parallel that drives me to the point that says that we got to figure that thing out. We got to figure that thing out. It's too much love in this world. There's too much love in this world for for us to be in a position like this, and there's too much opportunity and obstacles for us to overcome, for us to be focused on ongoing strife, leveraging resources towards ongoing strife. And so, I have my own set of experiences, and hopefully if the right people are listening that are documented, where I can share some things that are in parallel to this, that when it's a one-off, it's a one-off, but when it's more than one, then it's something to that. And so what I'd like to do is stay as clean as possible and move into a place where it's all in the light, and we can address the really big fish and opportunities that we have to thrive as a community and be leaders, because that's who we are. That's who we are. And so, you know, this is at home on the yard. And when we think about the opportunities that we have around organizing, think about a big platform like Stephen Bernstein across multiple social media platforms, from LinkedIn to Facebook to Instagram to in real life. He's showing up and able to tell a story each and every time. And so that's a large opportunity that we have to seize. Now, for me, I take a step back and I think about how to systematically build strategy around things like that, and why. Well, let's enter in Exhibit A. Keep the Republic. Keep the Republic is the new movement of Diane Nash. Diane Nash, Presidential Medal of Freedom holder. What I found in having this conversation, she and I have been working together for about the last 18 months or so. What I found when I tell people this, most times people don't know who she is. But what I would say is to them and those people, she's probably the greatest American alive. I can make an argument for that. I know I don't know a Fiskite or another HBCU that would stand up and say that, that they have one that they would put up against Miss Diane. And so that's who Miss Diane is. I'll take Miss Diane against any other HBCU's greatest alive right now today. Perhaps your GOAT. You put your GOAT up, this is my GOAT. She and I were together a few weeks ago. She was receiving an honorary doctorate at the University of Michigan. And you should have seen how the President Grasco there at the University of Michigan came over and took pictures and honored, and it was just the most phenomenal experience. And I was there. And so I saw that. And so as a storyteller, what people tell me most times is that, Jeff, you're a gifted storyteller. And so the story can go in many different ways from here. And so we need to take accountability for ourselves and put ourselves in a position to now where we can go tell a story that maximizes this opportunity that we have in this time. And so Miss Diane has decided that Keep the Republic 2026 is what she's going to do, because she's a legend in organizing. And so you can go to keeptherepublic2026.org, and you can find these study action groups where she's orchestrating groups across the country to go out and do the things that those groups are designed to do. And so she told me to tell all my friends to go check it out. And so that's kind of my job in that capacity, is to be there. Now take that and put that with Stephen Bernstein and get Stephen Bernstein talking about that. That's what we need Stephen Bernstein talking about. We need everyone talking about whatever Miss Diane said. And if anybody has a problem with that, step to the front. And I'm not talking about Fiskites. I'm talking about anyone who aligns with what we're talking about here. Her movement is about keeping the republic and protecting democracy. If you're with that, then that is for you. That's just one of the things that we do by way of One2Gration. Now, when we have that type of opportunity, now we can start to apply some of those same types of strategies and know-how to other areas. And so one of the things that I want to tie on to that on the back end is to say this is why we're now launching the peoplesplug.org. And so the peoplesplug.org is One2Gration's 501c3 nonprofit focused on providing support and services to civics, arts, and culture engagements and opportunities in organizations. And so that's what we're doing with Ms. Diane. Our social media community has a virtual space called Responsible Civics. You can join One2Gration Responsible Media. I'll put up the link. You can go there. That's where you're going to be able to find these information. So if you think about the strategy of this, Ms. Diane has no social media. She has nothing by way of a digital footprint. But however, she has all of this knowledge around organizing. And so it's our job to be able to now speak directly to you and tell and engage as many people who care about this to now organize around that, get the message out so that now they can get engaged. And the whole reason being is because we support people's purposes. Her purpose is organizing. And so that's how we support Miss Diane. You have a purpose too. We don't know it yet. You join, come through. We have this tool on our website. It's called YourRhythm. You start your rhythm with us. And then from there, we learn more about who you are. And then we can actually help guide and provide resources in partnership, collaboration, involvement. And one of the things that we see, and I've seen through this process of healing, is that the more you work with purpose, the better you feel. And so one of the things Ms. Diane told me early on, I was telling her that it was pain that drove me to create in this way. And she said, you know, one thing about working in the movement is that you'll feel good about yourself. And so she's of course she's right. When I'm focused on my purpose and I'm moving in that space, no matter what's going on around me, no matter the hand I'm being dealt, I'm able, better prepared to overcome, which I'm always going to overcome. And so, you know, in this format, this is at home on the yard. We try to keep it. You know, it's kind of like my parameter. Like, so, you know, everybody has triggers and things like that. I think about on this particular platform, I have to keep it a certain way and tell the story a certain way. But I also have to be honest that the fruitless aspects of scenarios, engagements, relationships, that's the biggest opportunity we have to improve in the most direct path. And so I don't know why anyone would question whether or not I was ever going to be honest. And so I think it's all about the story we tell. And so we have to be fruitless with one another, fruitful with one another. And so that's the reason why when you think about now putting Bernstein, having this conversation about all the great things that he's doing, he's sending kids everywhere. He calls me up and talks to me about these triplets. I think they're at Grambling. He's got another set of twins that are at Grambling. He's got all these different, he's impacting youth in this way. And so we got to figure out how to capitalize across the board with the resources that we have and the know-how we have. And then also we talk about Miss Diane and what she's doing. And then you look at how, for me, I went through a set of experiences that's, you know, in my own pain, as I will say again, to be able to get to a point to be able to create solutions. And so this is a solution to one of the things that have been painful. in that we have to figure out and leverage our resources in a way that is outside of the algorithm. So right now, what I would encourage everyone there to do, that if you ever see this and you see this piece of this in the algorithm, which is far, just far off, who knows what the algorithm is going to show you. But if you do, join One2Gration. The algorithm is whatever you choose. And so what we see right now is we are struggling to be able to see what's real and what's fake. And some of us are even getting taken down a path that's more fake. And before we look up, you're gonna look up and you don't know where you are because of the AI and all the rest of the stuff. The AI is not the problem. It is the algorithm and what the algorithm is showing you about the AI. And so this is an easy fix is if you put yourself first and say, man, I think I need to be in connection with people too. And I need to know when the person is real or fake. And so, and then once we know if the people are real or fake, then we can now organize around leveraging the fruits of one another. Oh, by the way, somebody is being fruitless. Let's go address that the way that it says in this scripture right here in Matthew. We're just going to follow the rule book. We're going to follow the rule book. All of the guesswork is out. And so if we can do that and then everybody just get in line with doing whatever their heart's desires are, we're going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine. And so I say that to say that, we have something to celebrate. On the tail end of this episode of At Home on the Yard, we had in HBCU culture, the Forever First HBCU gymnastics team there at Fisk University opened the season this weekend. And I've been watching. I've been excited. I've been waiting for this moment, and very excited to continue to support. I have shared through social media some of the old footage of how long I've been supporting those young ladies. And I've also shared some of the words and commitments that I've made to them that when they needed me, I would be there. And that's my word. And so if that's my word and other people have that same type of word, then I say, let's get together. We are going to celebrate our young ladies. And we also are going to see to it that any decision that is made about our young ladies is well vetted. We have collectively decided that, hey, look, this is not something we can do or that should be done. I think we're a long way away from that. This is live. I think we're a long way away from that. And I'm looking forward to having conversations and hearing more about from all of you out there, whether or not I'm on an island. I get phone calls. I just had I'll tell this story. I was in there's a model and actress. She was on 12 seasons or season 12. She was on this show called Supernatural. If you guys have ever heard of this, her name is Elena Huffman. I never heard of her. And she was a white lady. I had to say it that way. I'm sorry, but she is. And so I saw her in the gym and she had a crown tattoo on her arm. And you don't just walk up. I don't just walk up to people in the gym, like, especially she's a pretty lady. And so, but the crown, she had a crown. And if you notice in my art, I create with crowns. And so I had to ask her what the crown was about. And so she said it. She said, oh, that's Basquiat. And I was like, oh, wow. So we had a conversation about it. And just out of nowhere, she said, no, I asked her why they moved to Dallas. And she said, well, my daughter's a gymnast and they have better gyms here in the Dallas area. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And she was like, she wants to go to Fisk. And so I looked at my shirt and I looked at my hat. I didn't have Fisk on anywhere. And I said, why did you tell me that? Why did you tell me she wants to go to Fisk? This is my first time ever meeting her, or it's my second time meeting her. And she said, well, you never heard of their gymnastics program? You haven't seen them? They're fantastic. And I said, yeah, but why did you tell me that? She was like, well, have you never heard of them? I was like, no, I heard of them, but why did you tell me? She's like, because my daughter's a gymnast. She said it so matter of factly, like I should know this. Like it was common knowledge. And so then when I told her, I was like, no, I'm a huge supporter of the program. I've had him on the podcast a few times. And so that we got into talking about the podcast and all of these different things. And she now co-hosts the Hey Girl Show. One2Gration Media presents the Hey Girl Show. There's a Hey Girl space for women inside of the community alongside of my wife. Mama Stay Slaying is the Instagram profile if you want to check that out, or Hey Girl is another one, or Elena Huffman. She's probably got like, I don't know, 1 million followers. I don't know. But yeah, but she said this like it was nothing. And so I tell that story to say that makes me think, when also that the gymnastics coaches told me that they were on all these morning shows, it just makes me think, hey, look, I wonder if there's a way here. I don't know if what's been pursued. And so I'm a dreamer. I'm a solution provider. And I can see how excellent those young ladies are. It is not hard to see. It's not hard to see. And there's also been this narrative about how Black men don't stand up for Black women. And so I see an opportunity here to, right here in front of you, show that that's not true. Watch this. Because when I talk to us, it doesn't really matter the color, really. I mean, people love this team, and so we want to support them in that fashion. We want to support them in that fashion, and so let's see what else haven't I talked about that we wanted to talk about. Responsible civics. So you heard me talk earlier about Diane Nash. I'm not sure that I mentioned that inside of the responsible media One2Gration community, there's responsible civics. What is responsible civics? Imagine if everyone's purpose was aligned from a civics perspective inside of a community, and everyone was leveraging the resources collectively. And so that is responsible civics. You join, you decide whether or not you are ready to take on your purpose, or whether or not you are there to be civically engaged, and then from there the conversation. So right now we're really just gathering everyone there, and Diane Nash and Keep the Republic is ready. So you can go directly to www.keeptherepublic2026.org and get registered in a study action group and get ready to hear Miss Diane, whatever her magic is, that she's helped deliver this outcome in the 60s, and up to now she's now bringing that to 2026. And as she said to me, it was to protect and contribute towards the Constitution and democracy. And so responsible civics. So whenever you're ready, we're going to be there. We already started. You can learn more about the community and the overall strategy at www.one2gration.com. This episode, or this production, we have various production that are focused on different strategies. This is At Home on the Yard, where we're bringing civics, arts, culture, and those engagements, those opportunities, and how to support to a community that is aligned with that. And so, but there's other areas too, like I mentioned before, Hey Girl, and one of the ones that excites me the most is responsible HR, and this is where I'll close at. You know, being an HBCU grad, you make some assumptions that, especially, I can just hear our alma mater, uh, and our alma mater is about sisters and brothers supporting one another. That's what I hear. That's what I hear. Uh, and I have had some experiences where that sisters and brothers just didn't do that. They didn't do that, and maybe I hear it that way because of how much I put as far as my emotional expectations behind being sisters and brothers. And for us, we call it sisters and brothers on the altar. Um, and so, um, in family, I considered it the same way. I have a brother that I was estranged from for years, and it was we were age it was age it was just put it together. God brought us back, and I mean, like snap back, and it was like it was answered to a prayer. And so that's how I feel about brothers and sisters. And so, God answered my prayers just like that. I, 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 that that's how I would describe it. And so, um, where I'm going with this is that there was a sister in HR that was also on the altar that did not show up in any capacity in the way that she should have, from the way that I see it. And, um, I have to consume so much grace to handle this a certain way, because it was in a way that, I could have ended up harming myself. People do harm themselves when people in places and positions like HR, uh, they don't do the right thing and they don't acknowledge the harm that people are going through. And it wasn't that I expected HR to do what was right. I expected her to do what was right. And um, maybe she could make a case of doing what's right for her. Um, but what I'll tell you is I'm gonna make a case for doing what's right for everybody as a result. And so, um, we will tell those stories, and not only just tell the stories for the sake of telling the stories, but we'll tell the stories because we have the solutions to address those issues. And so it starts with your rhythm. It starts with your rhythm. It's not about anybody else. It's not even about those who didn't show up. Because if she would have showed up and addressed this deal that happened in HR, which was this guy was yelling and cursing and screaming at me and doing all this kind of stuff, and then it led to me being, it led to the creation of the Techpreneur for the People. Like, I had a journey to go through. Like, I was disassociated. It was like I learned a lot, but when I look back at it, I see like, oh, okay, that was a problem. That was a problem. That was a problem. Okay, let me address that. Let me do that. Let me do this. And so now here we are at a place where we have to say, as a society, that HR is broken. We have to say that. We have to admit that. We have to admit that. I'm going to say that it's broken because the CEO doesn't follow company policy, and so nobody else does. But if I were to be super critical, I could say things that were far worse. And it is because of that we will have solutions by way of one-to-gration where um, we'll change HR just like that. And they can try us if they want to. They can try us if we want to. Tomorrow, we're getting ready to come down on Microsoft's head again. What does that mean? They haven't treated somebody right, and we have we have taken our experiences and we have married them with the right set of resources, and we have guided yet another one to make sure that if that's the path you want to take, we know how to guide you to that path. And they're going to have to get the message sooner or later that not treating people fairly, it's going to cost you. And it's not going to just cost you money, because now we're going to tell these stories and provide these solutions to where we are essentially creating services to where everybody has this that values representation. And I'll tell you, when you go look at the track record of, for example, Michael Dell, his net worth is increased by 100 billion. I think, don't quote me on this, but maybe in the last 5 years, he hasn't delivered any significant technology. In fact, his business is underperformed. And just go to the layoff/Dell.com or whatever it's called. Just Google layoff and Dell. Man, his employees are telling you right there the mental anguish and trauma that they're enduring day after day after day. And I'll tell you, your body will break. I know. And so I'm not going to be sitting around not doing anything about it. When why else would God have given me the experience if he didn't want Tech P to do something? And so y'all need to know, y'all need to know that 20 years of technology experience, the pain and suffering is for a reason. That's what Chadwick Boseman said. And so let me play this for y'all one time before I get out of here. This is something that really speaks to the heart of my creativity and really what drives me.
He hated it because she thinks that art is about playing a game where if you know what to say, then you're automatically in. Do you know how many students all across the country know what to say? They know what to say, but they don't know what to do. And knowing what to do and being true to yourself is more important than any time than knowing what to say. Because then that implies playing a goddamn game. And it ain't no game. It's your life profession. It is your vocation. From the vocare in Latin, meaning a call, to call. Vocal, your voice. It's your calling. It ain't no damn game.
That's what this is. This is not a game. This is my calling. This technology is how I create part of my art. And it's an amazing opportunity that we have right now. And how do I know that the time is right now? Partially because on today's call, I got a call. I was talking to Bernstein. I had to, hey, Bernstein, Diane Nash is calling me. Gotta let you go. Get on the phone with Miss Diane. We're working through some technology challenges and we get through them. And she says, well, I'm heading back to Michigan for the MLK celebration. And I'm like, when are you going back? And she was like, I'm going back next Monday. I said, okay. And I said, so are you saying that you need to get out this call now because you're going back next Monday? And she was like, no, but I do have one more question for you. So I answered the question. And she said, you, Jeffrey, you are just something else with this technology stuff. And I said, well, Ms. Diane, you are the same thing for organizing. And together we're stronger. And she said, no, together we're unstoppable. And so that's what Miss Diane Nash said. And so that together is not she and I, it's all of us. It's all of us. And, that sounded like a pipe dream before One2Gration and social media. Like, how could we all get together? It was like what I would always say at every homecoming or every event where I was, kind of in that mind state. Well, I know how now. I built it. It's ready. is ready. And so what are we waiting on? We can see that together, Miss Diane said together we're unstoppable. And so how else would you know about what I'm talking about right now if all of these pieces were not aligned and assembled and ready to go? And so I'll close with Keep the Republic, www.keeptherepublic2026.org. Ms. Diane said to invite all my friends. Is you my friend or is you ain't my friend? We at home on the yard. It's supposed to be only my friends on the yard. I'll say this. I got a couple people that have proven not to be so friendly. We'll tell them stories on Tech People as to what this is at home on the yard. And so we'll keep that for the late night. If you guys can see where we're going here, we'll keep that for the late night. And so, but Keep the Republic, join that now. Miss Diane is waiting. And then the other thing that I was going to say is, of course, join One2Gration. You know, it's been I saw something. I look at my memories all the time. It's been like 5 years I've been telling y'all to join One2Gration. And it's been pretty silent at times. But I learned through the journey that that's how the wilderness is supposed to be. And so I also learned that what would it be like for you to be there for people when they needed you? And that's what we built in as many ways as you can dream of. And so Miss Diane, we support her in one way. And so we'd love to learn more about your purpose, and we'd love to figure out how we're going to support your purpose, because right now is the time to win. This is At Home on the Yard. I am Tech P, Jeff McKinney. Congratulations to our gymnastics teams there at Fisk University. Also want to acknowledge the loss of life of the young Fiskite, and just, you know, for everybody, take your time, listen to yourself, tap into the right resources, make sure you got the right support to deal with any type of trauma, and go check out YourRhythm. www.thepeoplesplug.org. Until the next episode, peace.